Welcome to the Heart Rate Variability Podcast. In this podcast, we discuss the exciting science behind HRV and how you can apply it to your own health and the work that you do. Just a note, this podcast does not replace medical advice, and if you're going to apply this to your own life or others, please consult with a medical provider. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the HRV podcast. Jeff Summers here with Matt Bennett, co-founders of Optimal HRV. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Not too bad. We finally broke this string of bad weather in Colorado, so just got back from a run, which feels so good. So get some sunshine, get out of the house, and
55 and sunny Christmas week. You can't go wrong with that.
I know. It's funny in Colorado that if you got more than the 7 days of bad weather, you got folks out running on ice, which, I'm like, I'm not that dedicated. It's just like, come on now. But right. So it's good to get out in the sunshine and get the endorphins going. So much better than working out in the garage. So
that's it, especially with all the restrictions right now. We're not far away from where we were in April. So
yes.
Unfortunately, the weather's not as nice as it was in April. So
exactly, makes it a lot harder.
Outside, the better. I guess today's actually the solstice, right? So
we're
recording this on the 21st of December.
Exactly. So get that sunshine. So
you said it. That's right. And the holidays are upon us. 2020 is nearly in the books, my friend. I think everybody around the world is rejoicing that 2020 is nearly over.
But hopefully in an isolated, safe way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
we're almost there, people. We are almost there. Just need to behave for a little bit longer.
That's exactly. That's exactly right. You said it. So let's, I think since we're coming towards the end of the year, and I think you and I are both going to take next week off. I think let's just kind of take a look back at 2020. What an interesting year for so many reasons, for so many people in the world. From obviously the tragic to some really good things that have come out of the year as well. I think, and hopefully some trends in life in general that will stick with us for the better moving forward. So, try to take some positives out of a lot of the negatives that we've all been living with over the last 10 months.
Yeah.
So let's kind of do a retrospective episode. What do you say?
Sounds good. Well, I think, it's interesting. I've read a couple books lately about people still in 2020 publishing a book about 2020. So, but it's been.
It doesn't happen very often.
No, but there's been, this interesting push. There are folks that are in the tech world they're talking about, this has pushed us ahead in certain areas. Anywhere I've heard 7, 15. I heard somebody say 20 though. I don't know. Tech evolves in such a way, that it's hard for me to understand what 20 years in tech would look like. But, I think it's the adaptation of these new technologies. And I would say from a heart rate variability perspective, there were two things that happened that I think will feel great repercussions of in one way or another moving forward. And I'd love to kind of get your feedback on them as well. As the first was, I believe I saw it first, and we keep a pretty good eye on this stuff in the elite athlete world, where basically every professional athlete in the major sports, at least here in the United States and North America, had some usually high-end device. All of them were high-end device from what I saw, but they were monitoring HRV almost a 24/7 metrics, as well as other biometrics as well. And so, all of a sudden, most of the elite athletes, a lot of college athletes, and then integrated into some workplaces, especially those at high risk, we're on HRV monitors. And, it was interesting to see because, there were on Twitter, a lot of athletes comparing the 24/7 monitors to dog collars or other kind of hilarious things. But, the adaptation of this, again, as we see the athletic world sort of lead the way like it has in HRV, which I don't think is, it should stop there. But it was interesting, the adaptation of this, and a lot of people measuring biometrics in a way that didn't exist before the pandemic hit. I think there was a small group, even in the well-funded elite athlete world. It wasn't the majority of folks really measuring this and paying attention to it. And all of a sudden, a lot of those, kind of trend leaders pop, because athletes transcend, into the popular culture as well. We're on these devices. And I think that there's going to be, I think in athletics, if you were any kind of D1, D2 college or, minor league, why wouldn't you invest, $50 to, dollars or so a month to track this stuff? I mean, it's not that expensive. And even I'm wondering if high schools, what the parents spend nowadays on, especially I had a good friend who had a hockey player growing up. I'd have to go get a second job if I had a kid playing hockey. Even put it on a youth at $50 is nothing compared to what he was dropping for ice time and gear. So yeah, I kind of wonder, because I know you kept an eye on athletics as well, and just kind of some of your thoughts, more coming from the tech world and this integration that happened so quickly.
Yeah, well, I think, I think it's just a very interesting thing, because it's something that people have been talking about for a while. And then, I don't want to say most, but a good portion of that came as a result of COVID.
Yeah.
And so, you have athletes who originally were on these things to better their performance. And clearly that's going to be that's why they're going to stay on it.
Yeah.
Once we, hopefully, knocking on wood as I say this, but the vaccine is effective and people can go back to their normal lives at some point in 2021.
Yeah.
But it's just very interesting to see outside factors, because I guarantee you the manufacturers of those devices and the creators of those apps had no idea that the large mass adoption at such a high profile level was going to come from a virus.
Yeah.
And being in a bubble and being asked to perform and people realizing that HRV is a predictor of COVID. Yeah. And so they were looking at ways to incorporate the rings and the straps and all the different things to have that 24/7 look, so they could tell, is somebody showing an early sign of COVID, because we don't want the rest of the team to get infected so that we can't play in the playoffs. Right. Yeah. And so, but now they all are on it. And all of the trainers are used to looking at it, and all of a sudden it's become a part of their daily lives. So and we've seen so many industries in 2020 sort of accelerate as a result of the pandemic. I don't think anybody, I could have told you Peloton stock was going to go nuts if there was a pandemic. Yes. I wouldn't have told you that HRV in professional sports would have, blown up as a result of a global pandemic, however. So I think it's great for HRV in general.
Yeah.
I think it's, as you said, accelerated the world's education of HRV. So, in some, again, drawing positives from negatives for us, the more people that know about this, the better, and the more applications we can, set forth for HRV, the better. So I think from that perspective, it's really exciting.
Yeah, and then the integration, like you mentioned, with being a predictor of, as I always like to say, it's sort of like get a test. If you see that drop, because a drop in HRV, especially a multi-day significant drop, can be a lot of things. But then you saw it starting to be integrated also in medical settings and other places as well. And so, I think that there was a later adoption to that, and almost from a let's study this instead of let's just get it kind of on everybody en masse. But it started to get in there as well. And it'd be interesting to see, and obviously this is part of our passion as well in the helping and healing professions, is that a foothold that's going to sort of grow and morph with this education, especially as we go back. Because that's, I think we all kind of really, and it'll be interesting to see is, if you're sick and well after COVID, if you've got the flu-like symptoms, you're really a threat to a lot of folks, and I think we're going to come into that realization. And so even hopefully if COVID disappears from a major threat, and hopefully with things like herd immunity, with enough people getting vaccinated, we'll get there. It's interesting that there was this focus on, the wellness of the workforce, that I'm interested if it'll maintain moving forward, because the mentality, at least here in the United States, is, you go to work if you're sick, and it's like,
you gotta be real sick.
You gotta be really sick. And I think like, okay, the flu may not be as bad as COVID, but it's bad, and like, I think that it's making us rethink, some of this stuff. And, the technology that, is also like the integration of Zoom and other things has just been so, all over the place that, can you show up for a meeting at home and not get people sick? And there's a huge return on investment for doing that. There may be a small cost for you not to be at work, which, I think we're all kind of questioning what that cost benefit is, but
certainly depends on what you do.
Yeah. And then, now that we've got folks that are typically burned out on this stuff, can we maximize that foothold to talk about wellness in a different way? And I think that hopefully will lead to some really frank discussions, because as much as healthcare was threatened by COVID, there's an ongoing epidemic of burnout in those professions as well. And obviously maybe not the immediate threat, but it's devastating people's lives. And then COVID hit, and I think we saw how vulnerable that workforce it really is. So yeah, I think that integration, whether I think it's stuck in athletics now, whether this foothold leads to broader integration, I'm fascinated to watch moving forward.
That's it. Well, absolutely. And to your point, sports has transcended, just athletic. And so now everybody sort of knows or follows or is aware of what specific athletes are doing. And so hopefully, the work we're doing and others are doing will help them bridge that gap, because, we had Becca on last week. What a great episode that was. And we've gotten more results from her. just really, eyes well up with, just, it's just so cool to see what she's doing with her client base. And we've got another client, getting on and we're finding, really cool results around people who started using it when they were sick with COVID, and then the recovery, how quickly that happens. So hopefully these stories are going to start to get out a little bit, and we can spread the word a little bit, because I think the people who have really adopted it are seeing some really powerful results in their day-to-day, in healthcare and even in the business world. We've got some folks using it in the business world that are just legitimately trying to offer better wellness services to their employees, and so I'm with you. I think we talked about this on one of our earlier episodes. You asked me how prevalent is mental health concern in my world, and my answer was, with a chuckle, not really at all. But I'm seeing it more and more, and so the question becomes, okay, is this a pandemic thing, or is this going to be a forever thing? Or you just hope people follow through, and it's not like once we can skate through until offices open up and life goes quote unquote back to normal, all of a sudden these services disappear, because life is more stressful now, but it's still stressful regardless of whether COVID's going around or not.
Well, and what kind of mental health crisis are we going to confront? That we might be in now, but is maybe somewhat hidden. You look at some of the statistics coming out about suicidal thoughts, and it's like 1 in 4, 1 in 5 adults have thought about suicide during this. And I had to rewind. I had to record it on. I was like, no. I was like, yeah. Which I want to see the actual study come out. But it's like, as we've talked to some folks who it's real. It's like, one of these folks we're working with is, staff members who have committed suicide, in large organizations. But, there's a huge mental health current right now that is not, and I think you and I felt this too, is like, I can't tell you how great it felt to go for a run. And, I know I'm struggling with at least the mild level of depression of, not being able to go snowboarding, not being able
do
to
the things you love to do, see the people you love to see.
Absolutely. So and that kind of brings me to the second sort of innovation that I really want to track moving forward as well, and where we'll talk a little bit about our journey as well in this crazy year, but it just like where I really, if I could wave a magic wand and get us 6 months earlier and not a March 3rd launch date for our app is, both telehealth and telemental health. Both of these have, I believe, locked in. I'm hearing from both sides of the equation now that my trainings are all virtual through Zoom now, is that both sides, whether it's health or traditional healthcare or mental health, that there's a significant portion of the population who prefers this model, who doesn't want to, whether it's get on a bus and go across town, whether it's me, who probably has flexibility in the schedule to drive, the 15 minutes I have to my medical provider and back. It's a lot nicer to work for that half hour and not have to commute. So where that tracks with HRV, and this is where I was like, oh, if we were just 6 months ahead, maybe we could have got some traction here, is, we offering that daily HRV reading as a measure of, mental, physical, cognitive, social health, I believe just adds a data about what's going on inside the skin to supplement these services, where you can just get a level of data on someone's overall wellness in a way that I just think improves services, whether you're talking from a mental health perspective or a medical health. It's one data point, but what a powerful data point that is. And so as we shift into this arena where, I think biometrics are going to come into play. And HRV, if people think, oh, it's just not, hey, if I'm sick, let me get my temperature, blood pressure, those sort of things. But boy, if we take daily readings and the medical provider could pull that up, mental health therapists looking at progress over weeks and months, you've got data like you've really not had in healthcare. You can track treatment effectiveness, and just really look at this. Some mental health folks that I've talked to, we've been thinking about how to integrate this in and, offering more than just the once a week session, but offering kind of text messages throughout the week if clients are interested in it. So there's a lot of really cool, I think, applications in the telehealth and mental health pieces of this as well, which HRV and other biometrics, I think, can just, take something that a lot of people are liking, not everybody, but a lot of people are, and, giving the provider, the clinician, a whole nother level of data to work with as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. And what a great thing, like we talked about last week, to be able to put numbers and metrics around this is something that's never happened before. I'm going to be curious once, just like everything else, once we're back to quote unquote normal, what percentage of people go back to in person, and what percentage of people just stay with status quo. I think it's probably, I think a lot of people, like you said, are just going to stay with status quo because it's easy, it's convenient, and it's effective. And so why wouldn't you do it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think I think a lot of people have seen the ups and downs of working at home. I know you and I have been doing it for a long time, but I always kind of want to have an office until I have to drive in rush hour traffic. And then I'm like, nah, it's okay. But I think right. As we get this, and obviously in Colorado, we live in a beautiful place, but to go get a hike in, to, go snowboarding at lunch, those sort of things, to have that sort of flexibility, to go on a, 3-month trip somewhere and live in Mexico for 3 months while as long as you got good Wi-Fi, you can, keep up on your work. And so, I think it offers a lot of flexibility, much less just the overhead for office space disappears pretty quickly, and I think is an interesting return on investment. So, yeah. So then there's our journey this year, Jeff.
What a long, strange trip it's been,
Yeah,
as they
we
say.
haven't talked a whole lot about this on the podcast, but
No, we haven't. That's very true.
I think it's good as we kind of reminisce here about the year that was that's disappearing rapidly. Thank God. Yeah, that magical March 3rd launch, man. Boy, we were all set up for success.
Or so we thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, the world is interesting. You just sort of you roll with the punches. I mean, I think the good news for us is this is something that we want to get out there to help people, and we weren't expecting this to be anything that we live off of. So that's good, considering budget priorities certainly shifted come the middle of March, understandably so, rightfully so. But yeah, I mean, we're sitting here 9 months later. We've learned a lot. The app's gotten better. We've got a number of customers giving us good feedback, and I'm really excited about where 2021's going. I mean, I think the more feedback we get from the practitioners that are using the product, the more excited I get, because especially, I mean, you had this vision. You've worked in their shoes before to some extent, depending upon who they are. But you've sort of had your hand in that world for a long time, your whole career. Whereas I come from a very different background, so it all sounded very great, and I bought in, and I know you well enough and trust you well enough to have bought in completely. But then to hear people actually putting it into practice and getting back to us with some of the coolest emails you'll ever read. I don't know, it just really excites me for 2021, and I'm looking forward to the partners we haven't met yet that we're gonna work with in 2021 and make a difference for them as well, because it's just incredibly meaningful.
Absolutely, and it was kind of I kind of look at it as, I mean, we were really set up to get with some really innovative folks, and hopefully have those opportunity everywhere from like kind of homelessness to shelter to work folks to a police department. HIV providers. I mean, we just had a nice range of initial folks to work with, and people will write grants for innovation at some point once we know the doors will stay open. But it was kind of nice, Jeff. I think we'll look back on this year as we were all ready to go, and then we had to hit pause. And, as two people who don't sit around, I think, very well. And we wrote a book, started a podcast, and I'd say improved the app by at least 20, if not 30%. So, that's, we weren't just screwing around with all this free time. We were actually hard at work. So, and I think that it was, for me at least, to really, I mean, I always love writing books because it makes you think about things in a much more structured way. I can talk about anything for 90 minutes to 6 hours and at least entertain you and make you maybe think you learned something along the way. But, I really enjoyed and having you along on that ride with the book. It was really good to think about all the different scenarios and really operationalize this. We wrote it for the helping and healing folks, but it really just kind of brought out some new ways of thinking about this, especially around the organizational wellness and self-care, piece of this, where there hasn't been a whole lot of thinking done. And then, as we're writing this, you start to see at least professional athletes integrate this in the way we're kind of talking about it, at least from the wellness perspective. So, what did we do in 2020? Yeah, we didn't get the huge launch we were expecting, but a book and a podcast and a much better app, not too bad.
That's it. Exactly. And a good group of initial customers that
absolutely
we're growing all the time.
Yes.
So what's 2021 going to look like, Matt?
I love looking ahead. Yeah. So
what are your predictions, as it relates to, sort of the helping world in general? And,
yeah.
HRV as well, but, I think, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. I think there's a few things I'm looking for. One is, now that we're feeling more comfortable with technology, and I'm not saying we weren't comfortable with technology before, but we're living with it in just a different way. The Zoom world. I've got a really packed training schedule going into 2021. not one of them's in person. You know, and so, which is good.
I know you're gonna miss those airplanes, my friend.
Yeah, I
Being
know.
6'7" in the Southwest coach
Yes.
airplane is not something that you
I'm
long
afraid.
for
I'm
every day.
afraid for my Southwest frequent flyer status, though. I really they held it over in 2020, but whew, I know you're a United guy. I'm kind of like, I got to rethink this because if yeah, I got to get the leg room, man. Anyway, I'm 6'7", by the way, so I'm not like it's not. I need the win. I literally need the leg room.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, and I did in-person training for a total of 9 people, really spread out with an N95 mask, and breathing for 6 hours with my energy with an N95 on was, whew, I felt like my lungs got very strong during that day. But the things that I'm interested in is, you know, and I think a challenge, you know, for us is people kind of get from treading water to a little bit back on solid ground is, you know, now that we are doing a lot more things virtually and there is this technology is how does things like HRV fit in a different way? You know, how do we integrate this to the next level where, yeah, we're doing a lot of, whether it's a healthcare visit, whether it's a therapy, case management, all these things, you know, getting people cell phones, you know, that maybe couldn't have had trouble afford it. They're thinking about this as actually a cost saving sort of thing. So I really think that integration moving forward is really key. You know, the other thing that I wonder about, and I'm not sure if it's next year, but I'm constantly looking for it is, you know, when is the $30 device going to come out? Because I mean, the device we use is a very good device. You know, take a reading, unplug it. I mean, it's, you know, it's good.
Basic.
But yeah, it's basic.
It captures good readings and it's basic.
But you're still, if you're looking at like the higher end things like the Garmin's, the Fitbits, the iWatches, not all of them, they're getting better at the data they're collecting. I still think our reader is probably superior as far as HIVs or HRV specifically. However, you know, I think that, you know, as this gets down to kind of like hey, here's a really good $30 strap, so to speak. And I'm kind of waiting for that because I think that opens it up in a different way. And so I'm looking for the hardware to come down. You know, if you think about measuring steps, that was sort of a kind of a higher end thing at one point, and now you can buy a $15 watch that measures your steps, no problem. So you know, it's just like we're waiting for all these devices in some ways to take a step. Even like the Apple Watch could take a step in collecting a better set of data. But then I'm looking for those, hey, what's a $25, $30 that has the right heart rate monitor where we can start to collect this as well. So, you know, I'm interested to see, you know, there's been this science out there, people putting this in clothing. And then all that has to say is the privacy stuff. I'm interested, you know, where Facebook is maybe going to get pulled apart. Who knows? I think there's
people getting sued, everybody. Yeah,
I mean, there's this pushback against big tech and like, you know, and where's privacy with all this going to end up? I think when we see technology that's healthy, it might allow us to share it, but you know, how do we promote and maximize staff employee wellness and really even folks like patients, clients, and services while having a range of privacy settings so folks feel comfortable using it. So that there are these, I think, really challenges that will continue to exist. But once that price point drops, I think, you know, that's where we'll see this, you know, integrated, because buying, you know, a staff of even 150 people, all $400, you know, watches adds up pretty quickly.
Sure
you
does.
know, so,
and then apply that to a whole different population and
yeah.
some clinicians and therapists work with. And
yeah. And would an insurance company want to spend that kind of money? And there's always this interesting question in my head too, is 24/7 devices even the way to go? I think that, you look at a lot of these 24/7 devices, and they usually measure heart rate or heart rate variability for just a few minutes during the day. So there's even I think there's a good argument to say, just having the thing you put on and off actually might address some of the privacy concerns while getting you good, accurate data as well. So it'll be interesting. I mean, we're in the software. You've cautioned me about dreaming about going into the hardware side of things, but
not saying it's not going to happen, but it's a whole different world, my friend.
As I'm searching through the interesting parts of the internet, where you can't buy things on Amazon, I have learned one of my lessons in 2020 is I'm not very good at importing, exporting. So, yeah,
not a core competency yet.
No. I wonder when you look forward, what do you kind of see? I know you're a little newer to this, though you've been, I wonder kind of the progression that you've seen now that it's really been on your radar, and kind of what you're thinking moving forward as well.
Yeah, I don't know that I have any predictions as much as just interest levels in terms of the maturation of this industry. To your point, having gotten to know it over the last year, you're starting, I'm very curious. There's so many devices out there kind of on that same hardware discussion that are capturing HRV in some way, shape, or form. But nobody other than the HRV focused companies like us and a few others are focused on doing anything with it. So it's a data point for folks that don't even know what it is.
Right.
Which I think is really interesting. And I guess there's probably a number of those that all those devices capture, but people are looking at their steps, they're looking at their sleep, they're looking at their heart rate. And then there's this HRV thing. And curious people might be looking it up, how much time they're spending researching it. It probably determines whether or not they get interested in it or not. If they spend a lot of time researching it, all of a sudden it probably becomes something they look at right away every day. If they don't, they're probably like, why are you even showing me this? I don't even know what it is.
Right.
So, as the term becomes more popular, as people are more educated on why it matters and how important it is, I have a feeling that those device manufacturers are going to start putting it more front and center.
I think
so. My question, there's no projections or predictions, but I'm just curious as to when that's going to happen. 2021, was that going to happen? 22, 28? I don't know, but it seems like it's coming. And I think that's better. The more people that know about this, the better.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. Yeah, it should be an interesting. I mean, as you hear all these, folks who kind of project things, talking about again this huge step forward in technology. Are we ready for biometrics? It's coming. A lot of folks walking around with it already on their wrist and sending data to somewhere. Somebody's got that data, whether they tell you the truth that they just, analyze it and then delete it or whatever they tell you.
Well, nobody even reads the fine print enough to know what they tell you.
They
could be telling you they're using it to control your life, and you would know because nobody reads all the fine print anyway.
And most of us have, I won't say her name, but there's things in our house that are listening for us to activate them with our voice. And,
Absolutely.
And we're going towards this, whether it's for better or worse. And I think, to really position, this as, a safe, as far as your privacy is concerned, way to do this. And I think, with the lack of faith in, sort of some of these bigger tech companies, it might be one of the bigger barriers. And, I think, it's interesting. I wonder if biometrics, I don't think next year, but I've got this little device on my car because my wife, who's home, drives like a grandma. So like the best driver ever, and so if we drive well, it lowers our insurance. So every time I get in a car, my insurance company has all the data. Like if I brake too hard, they know it. Like if I fast forward to another podcast, they know it, right? So I can't, I have to park the car to access my phone. but it's saving me money because my wife drives like a grandmother, and now neither of us are driving at all. So it also tracks the, hey, you're not even in your car. So you start to think about this as, hey, we want you to drive good because it saves the insurance company money. We're going to give you a chunk of that back. When does this start to happen with our bodies as well? And
it already is to some extent. You're spot on. I've worked for large employers where you get certain checkups, and if your numbers, blood pressure, cholesterol, those things fall below a certain number, then you pay less than you would, or you get a credit or whatever, discount on the monthly premium that you have to take as part of the healthcare plan. And so, why wouldn't this be sort of the next phase of that? And, to motivate, if it's me, if I can save $100 a month by having an HRV score above whatever, I'm going to do it. Why wouldn't I do that? So,
and your healthcare provider then gets a level of daily information that is
I'm willing to give them for that,
is not available in current standard healthcare practices. So I think that there's a win-win if we get over, and we've had this experience as people who like a good margarita, all of a sudden, if, that's going to threaten our $100 a month, maybe I only have one of Jeff's margaritas instead of two next time I'm over, or three, or, however many I have, and again, but is that, I've already seen, and you may have too, is like, what it does, just that self-knowledge can say, okay, you kind of weigh the pros and cons because you have the data to say, this screws me up for 2 days. My HRV score is not going to recover, and I'm doing something I need to be on top of the game. Even if I'm having a drink on Saturday, I know Monday's going to suffer if I have too many Jeff margaritas. My performance isn't going to be what it needs to be. So, again, some of that data, I think what we've seen really gives you insight to yourself. And, the question is, are you going to share that at some point? And it's an interesting, ethical dilemma that's quickly coming and has been seen to be coming for, I've been hearing about people talk about this for well over probably 15 years, 20 years. So I just think with everything fast forwarded and the technology now where heart rate variability still just a few years back wasn't something that was accessible in the way that it is today. It's kind of here. And, I think it's a good kind of question to kind of leave folks with in some ways is, would you? And like optimalhrv.com, go to the podcast page. Love to hear your comments. Would you share that with your healthcare, your insurance provider, if it saved you $100 a month? I'd love to hear what people say, because I think I would do it, but I think also I'm also a perfectionist too, and I don't want to admit defeat, and I want that $100. So I think the competitive person in me would probably not drink as many IPAs if I was being tracked. So
yeah, that's right. Well, and I mean, you've said it before, and in the book, one of the quotes you've used is that what is measured improves. And so if you had some motivation to that, not only measuring it but motivating financially in this case, I think a lot of people, I would do it for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm capturing my HRV score every day anyway, so if it can save me money, I mean, I don't care if they know what it is. I mean, as long as there's fine print that your employer won't fire you based on that, then game on.
Exactly. Great. And you can see how the insurance company could give feedback to the employer and, all kinds of, really what I think would turn out to be positive stuff. But it also, opens up a lot of room for abuse. And we know even if, 90% of people are using it ethically, all it takes is one story to come out where folks are starting to get fired because of this. Obviously, you won't be our client anymore if you use it that way. But a lot of people, it could have that detrimental cost. But, like I said, I really hope that we start to get to those options for folks that might really benefit from at least getting the data on themselves. So
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, well, that was I think probably a good place to end. I know
it's 2020, baby.
Exactly. It's been a heck of a year. It's been a pleasure working with you every day, sir. Pleasure working with our customers and all the people that continue to do great work with the technology that we're so excited to offer them. I still want to reiterate to those listening, any innovators, anybody interested in bringing HRV into your practice, your work, your clinic, your whatever, please reach out. I mean, we can make it very affordable. We're looking for partners over the long term. So, send us an email. We love to talk to folks, learn about what you're doing, and see if there's any way we can help. So, sales or support at Optimal HRV is the best way to get in touch with us. But otherwise, thanks to everybody who's been paying attention to us for the last 10 months, Matt. I mean, we're forever indebted to the folks that continue to watch, continue to support. We're crossing our fingers that everybody has a much more normal, sane, and happy 2021 than they did in 2020.
Absolutely. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy holidays. Stay safe. And we've already got some good things in the works for going into 2020. So we will.
2021. We're not going to
2021. Yes, 2021. Yes.
We don't want to start all over unless we can just erase it all and start all over and avoid the pandemic in general.
Not taking that risk.
Alas, if we had a time machine, we would be in a different business, I think.
Absolutely.
Happy holidays, everybody. Stay safe. We'll see you in 2021.
Thank you for joining us for this episode. If you're interested in more information about HRV, please visit us at optimalhrv.com. Also, if you visit optimalhrv.com, you'll be able to sign up for our email list and download our free ebook, Healing with HRV. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next episode.